Right now in accounting, talent is a battlefield. And if you haven't figured it out, if you don't figure it out, your firm might not survive. You may lose your independence. There's a lot at stake here. Fatigue makes cowards of anybody. So what are the firms doing to make sure that people feel valued, challenged, connected, energized to the mission? The rules of the game have changed. Remote work, hybrid work, the great resignation, the post-pandemic world, these are all in play, and trends are forcing accounting firms to rethink how they engage with talent. What if I told you that as a growing accounting firm, your biggest threat is not your competitors, not the economy, not technology, but your own ability to find and keep the right people? Right now in accounting, talent is a battlefield. And if you haven't figured it out, if you don't figure it out, your firm might not survive. If it does, you may lose valuable market share, premium positioning in the marketplace. You may not get bought by a private equity. You may not be in prime position for a merger or acquisition. You may lose your independence. There's a lot at stake here. We know there's a talent shortage, unlike anything we've seen before. The rules have changed. And if your firm is still relying on old school recruitment and retention strategies, and you're relying on your brand to bring in the right people, you're probably already behind. Top performers at all levels of the career ladder, they have multiple options, and they won't hesitate to go elsewhere if your firm does not stand out. So the real question is, why should anybody work for you? Welcome to the Accounting Talent Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Brown, teeing up a special series featuring some of the best accounting firms we can find in the world that have an exceptional employer brand, that are an amazing place to work. So there'll be an invitation throughout for you if you feel your firm is exceptional and you are very good at attracting, recruiting, retaining good people. We'd love to know what you're doing that's working. We'd love to know about your culture, your engagement, your employer brand, how you stand out. Because we're living in a time where finding, attracting, and keeping the best people has become a major struggle for most accounting firms. The job market, it's never been more competitive. The rules of the game have changed. Remote work, hybrid work, the great resignation, the post-pandemic world, these are all in play, and trends are forcing accounting firms to rethink how they engage with talent. We've also talked in previous episodes about a leaching of talent out of accounting and the weakness of the brand of accounting to attract the right people at all levels. And we're doing a special series dedicated to uncovering what makes certain accounting firms truly great places to work. So I'm going to be interviewing senior leaders, heads of talent, heads of people, senior partners, managing partners, heads of HR, whoever's in charge of recruitment, talent acquisition specialists from mid-sized, large accounting firms across North America and the UK, maybe in other countries, to discover how they differentiate themselves in the talent market. We're going to dive into the tough questions around culture, employer branding, recruitment, retention, and what it really takes to stand out as an employer of choice in today's environment. And let's face it, the shop window for most accounting firms is their website. And the problem is they all look the same. They use the same fonts, the same colors. They make the same promises about work-life balance and career progression and great culture. But in reality, how many of these firms are actually delivering on those promises? And where is the proof that you are delivering? The values you put on your website, the things you stand by, the way you look after your people. It's the same on every site. And whether a firm is doing it for real or not, they can claim it. And when you put promises like that on your website, it's really hard for talent to know whether it's real or not. So how many of these firms are truly standing out in a crowded market where everyone's saying the same thing? And this special series for the Accounting Talent Podcast, we're going to feature those firms that have cracked the code, those firms that have found a unique way to differentiate themselves as the place to work in the accounting profession. And let me give you a taste of the kinds of questions I'm going to be asking our guests on why they're so critical for any accounting firm that wants to stay ahead in the talent game, because this is going to give you the opportunity to peer over the garden wall, if you like, to have a look in the bait box of other firms and see what they're using to catch the big fish, to look in the medicine cabinet of these firms and find out what works and what doesn't. And now, if we're exploring, for example, culture, that's going to be the one things I'm going to ask about. I'll ask leaders, how would you describe the culture at your firm? How does it contribute to making your firm a great place to work, particularly with the remote and hybrid options becoming the norm? How do you drive culture when people are not in the office, walk in the corridors? How do you imbue that culture in them? And what is it about your culture that makes you stand out as an employer of choice? Culture is so tricky, isn't it? It's easy to talk about it, but it gets much harder to get it right. It's not just the surface level. I saw a website recently where the employer brand, the value proposition said, we have free fruit for our staff. Firm's not going to be a difference maker. So it's more than the service level perks like office snacks and fruits and social events. A great culture is where people feel engaged, supported, motivated to give their best every day. They feel part of something bigger than themselves. They're part of the narrative. So what are the firms doing that get it right? What are they doing to build that kind of culture, and how can other firms learn from that success? So we'll talk about that. Then there's the issue of employer brand. Every firm claims to have a great brand, but what really sets one firm apart from another? I'm going to be asking leaders of firms that, and what differentiates their brand from others in the accounting world, and how do they communicate that to potential hires at all levels? And this is where it gets interesting, because it's not just what you say, it's about what you do. And what makes your brand authentic is whether or not it reflects the true experience of working in the firm. Are your own employees proud to work there? Are they advocates and ambassadors of your firm? Are they willing to come on video and talk about why it's a great place to work? Are they referring their friends and colleagues? Are they staying? If your firm's employer brand does not match up with the reality, people are going to figure that out quickly and you will lose top talent. Next, I want to tackle in this series the issue of talent attraction in such a competitive market. Where are the best people choosing to work and why? And where are you going to find those people? I'm going to be asking firm leaders in the competitive market what strategies they use to attract top talent professionals, accounting professionals at all levels, at entry level, mid-tier level, and those senior strategic hires, particularly in today's evolving environment. And this is where a lot of firms struggle, isn't it? In an age where accounting firms are not just competing with each other, but competing with tech companies and consulting firms and startups and industry for this talent. And the standard approaches to recruitment, they just don't cut it anymore. It's not enough to offer a decent salary and some benefits and a package. So what are the firms doing that succeed? What are they doing differently? What kind of workplace flexibility are they offering? How are they appealing to both new graduates entering the field and seasoned professionals looking for that lateral move? We're going to find out. We're also going to be digging into employee engagement. It's not just bringing in the talent, it's keeping them engaged and absorbed in what you're doing once they're on board. And that's why I'm going to ask what initiatives or programs these firms are implementing to maintain high levels of employee engagement, job satisfaction. And this is especially important where long hours, demanding deadlines, we know about tax seasons, they can take a toll. And even the most motivated employees, what did they say? Fatigue makes cowards of anybody. So what are the firms doing to make sure that people feel valued, challenged, connected, energized to the mission? The firms that get this right are the ones that retain the best employees over the long haul. And we'll hear from leaders on how exactly they are achieving this. So that's going to be worth tapping into. Retention, big topic. We're going to hear some incredible retention success stories. Examples of firms like BRC, a firm I work with in North Carolina, 200-person firm, 10, 11 offices. They have above industry average retention rates. People in that firm talk a lot about it being their forever firm. Bernard Robinson and company, check out their website. They have exceptionally high retention of talent at all levels. So they retain good people, even when other opportunities are on the table. And I've interviewed a lot of their people and I've said, how have you resisted the temptation to go somewhere else? These people are getting LinkedIn approaches every day, phone calls from recruiters and headhunters, promising them the ideal job. And they say, well, we know there's nothing better than where we are. We just love it where we are so much. So we're going to find out what makes people stay. And these stories, they're pure gold. They show that it's not just about the money or the promotions, the opportunities. It's about how employees are treated there, the opportunities they're given to grow, the relationships they build. They all talk about people. It's the people. That's what makes me stay. So how are they building these relationships with their leaders, their peers, their bosses, their team? And if your firm is struggling with retention, these stories should give you some inspiring, practical takeaways that you can apply to your accounting firm. And speaking of employee well-being, we will discuss the mental side of this. It's something that we can't ignore anymore in today's crazy world. So we'll be asking, how do you interpret that duty of care or similar staff welfare responsibilities when it comes to safeguarding the mental health and well-being, happiness of your people. With more and more people working from home or hybrid models, the lines between work and personal life, we know they've blurred. Firms need to be proactive in supporting their employees' mental health. And I'm actually doing some training right now to be a mental health first aider. Not in my firm. I'm not an accountant. I'm a former high school math teacher, but just in my neighborhood, just to give something back. And I'm starting a men's support group for a charity called Talk Club. So that's going on the record, and it just gets men together and gets them talking and starts with the question, how are you out of 10? Because men don't talk much to each other, do they, about stuff? You ask one guy how he is, and I'm generalizing, but I am a man, so I know a little bit about it. You ask a guy how he is, and he'll say, yeah, not too bad. I'm okay. And they don't go beyond that. So I'm digressing, but that's a passion that I've had in my heart for some time. Another area we will be looking at, beyond the innovative ways that firms are stepping up to the plate to support their people, is career development. So I'm going to be asking leaders, how does your firm support the career growth and development of your employees? What impact has that had on your employee loyalty, employee advocacy? Top talent wants to grow. People are ambitious. They want to develop new skills, take on leadership roles, new areas of responsibility. They want to be exposed to interesting work, good technology. They want to feel like they have a voice in the firm and a future at the firm. So those practices that invest in their people's career development, they don't just retain employees, they create a stronger, more capable workforce in the process. And that's great for succession planning, which we've talked about in recent episodes. And of course, we're going to hit diversity and inclusion. Firms can't afford to ignore diversity anymore. DEI, whatever you call it. We'll be asking, what efforts has your firm made to promote diversity and inclusion? How has this impacted your ability to attract and retain a wide range of talent? I do something called an employer brand audit on accounting firm websites, and reach out to me if you'd like me to do one for yours. I just go to your website and hit record button on my screen and give you a commentary on how I'm feeling as potential talent going to your firm's website and what am I looking for. I'm not looking for what your clients are looking for and those prospects, but I'm looking for whether your firm is a good place to work and whether there are people like me. And this speaks to diversity because I've been on accounting firm websites, and on the About Us page is 20 pictures of 20 male partners all wearing suits and ties and white shirts, old males. Now, that's not a diversity. And if I'm black, or Asian, or anything else in the middle, male, female, or any gender you care to name, am I seeing people like me? So we're going to hit that. And finally, we'll go into the future. I'm going to be asking firms what excites them most about the future of their practice, how they see talent and recruitment evolving, and their firm, in fact, evolving over the next few years to remain an employer of choice. And this is going to give us a glimpse into some of the most forward-thinking firms and how they are preparing for the future of work in the accounting profession. I'm sure AI will come up, technology will come up, automation, cloud. You can't distinguish between tech and talent, can you? So if you're listening to this thinking, my firm has an amazing story to tell, we've got some great success stories, we're doing things right, then I want to hear from you. We're always looking to feature accounting firms that are doing things differently, setting new standards in the profession. So reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, find our podcast, go and have a listen. And we've got a LinkedIn group that we've started up called Accounting Talent. So if you search Accounting Talent on LinkedIn, our group, is it a group or a company page? I'm not even quite sure, but come follow us. That's where we'll be having some conversations. I'll be sharing more about this, talking about interviews we've got coming up, putting out a call to action, and some links for firms that want to get involved to reach out to me, and we'll tee up an episode with you talking about the great things that you're doing with you. Maybe a couple of your colleagues coming onto the show, telling us about your success stories, your challenges, your best practices. You don't need to share your crown jewels, but this is a great PR opportunity for you to shout out about some of the great things that you're doing. And this series is going to be packed with valuable insights, practical advice, hopefully some inspiration from the firms that are leading the way in the accounting talent space. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube as well under Accounting Influencers. Stay tuned for our first interview. You don't want to miss that. We'd love you to be a part of it, either as the audience or maybe some of the guests. Thank you for tuning in to the Accounting Talent Podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.